are where we are, and he is still the greatest featherweight of all time at this point.
Greatest featherweight of all time.
I've felt that way for a long time. I think
Okay.
so.
I
And yes,
think,
the greats get beat, right?
yeah.
Greats get beat. Like I still, this is my problem with the MMA hummingbird memory. Like you, one loss does not erase greatness. You know, like it's not. Those are not the same thing. When you talk about featherweight greats, you're talking josealdo, you're talking Max Holloway, and you're talking Alexander Volkanovski. And I'm a big believer that Alex was the greatest of those three. It's a great argument to have, though, because certainly there's
Sure.
a strong argument for any of those three guys. Josealdo probably would be second in my book, but this doesn't like erase that just because, just because he lost. It may be the last time that we see him at the top of the mountain at featherweight. Again, it doesn't change what he did.
So 5, 10 years from now, when people come to you and they say, Laura, tell me about the time Alexander Volkanovski was the featherweight champion, how would
Yeah.
you describe his title run?
He was greatness. He was the great. He was the greatest of that generation and possibly of all time in my mind, because here's a guy who wasn't built for this division height wise, right? Like he was always the shorter guy. And he had to develop skills as he went, which to me is always very impressive when people do that at the highest level. Like if you remember early on, he was pushing out guys up against the fence and grappling, right? And that wasn't necessarily going to win him a ton of fans. But over time, what was always so impressive to me about him is that even when I thought he had reached like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest featherweight of all time, then he'd go out there and he'd have another fight. I'm like, how did he find another level to his game? That third Max Holloway fight was bananas in terms of what he went out there and did. That fight to me is part of the reason why he's the GOAT, because to do that to arguably one of the other GOATs is insane. And Max Holloway, you can argue, of course, that his win over Jose Aldo, Jose not at his peak, but Max Holloway still very much at or near, very, very near his peak level. And he went out there and styled on him. It was an absolutely incredible performance. So to see a guy like Alexander Volkanovski work and evolve, even at the top of the mountain, you look at the best champions of all time, that's what they struggle with. How do I, now that I've gotten here, how do I stay here? How do I stay motivated? How do I stay hungry? How do I continue to improve? And somehow he found a way to find just enough chip in every situation where he was doing that. And to me, that will be part of his legacy, is just his ability to outdo himself every single time that he went in there.